Alright everybody, welcome back to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It has been 196 days since we last visited for round 2 in the season 1 calendar, but we are here today for the penultimate race of season 2 after Red Bull have done and dusted both Constructors' Championships and KP taking home the Drivers' World title. We come to Jeddah tonight. Nothing to play for at the top, but there are plenty of places in the constructors title that could switch around come these last 2 rounds. Early in the week, Alfa Romeo did go bankrupt, so there is no winnings for this race for them, no constructor points for the end of the season, but Kiernan and Dylan are just here to have a bit of fun around the streets of Jeddah. There is 27 corners, one of the longest tracks on the calendar, so let's see who can make all 27 corners work for them and who can put it on pole for the 25 laps we have ahead. Where is track map? No, I don't want that one. But yeah, here we go then. In Q1, we have quite a few drivers out on track. 20 of them tonight. Only 19 participating in qualifying. Goes 44, picking up a qualifying ban for an incident in Austin last time out. The man we are watching now won that Grand Prix, won the sprint, and he also took home all 25 points on the Sunday. So confidence is high for the Red Bull second driver at the moment, but he does go purple in Sector 1, so at the moment this has been a pretty decent lap from him. He has a McLaren pretty close behind, but I don't think he is going to be any interference for him, unless of course he does make a mistake. But 16 to the left and 11 to the right, only 6 major braking events around the track. 2 are considered heavy braking zones, and the other 4 are mildly just a corner, to be fair, as you have a lot of just kinks on the straights around these tracks, so not an awful lot, a lot of actual corners. But yeah, Koru has managed to navigate all 27, so this lap in Q1 is going to be a 28.9. So pretty decent lap from the McLaren, the Red Bull, sorry. The McLaren goes just 1 second behind his time. Next across the line will be TF Ferrets, but he is just doing a lap on intermediates just to make sure the setup is looking alright. But the line cookie in the Williams is going to be next to cross the line after scoring points last time out in Austin. He goes 1.6 off the lead, but all the first couple of laps are going to start flowing in. Next across the line, Giancarlo Silva, but he's just starting his lap, along with Ben Finch, and Liam, I believe, is also just starting his lap. So Mink has unfortunately invalidated on those tyres, but Kiernan is coming on the exit of the final corner, and now it's just a drive to the line and see where he can put himself. It's only P4 though, so just behind the Williams on his first attempt. But next across the line is that McLaren with the, I don't know who the sponsored livery is with, but they have those pinky purple accents instead of the normal lighter blue colour. So it looks pretty good under the lights of Jeddah. So we'll see if that has any benefit of them. I don't think it will, but you can always hope for them. Everyone is just starting their first couple of laps. Liam has actually lost his wing, so one of these corners has become one too much for him, and that looks to be in one of the first sectors almost. So he must have had a moment somewhere. There's a yellow flag ahead, and someone's had a spin. I believe that is Ben Finch in the Williams. So just a little pirouette from him. Almost hits the Alpine there of Ollie de Boy, but Ollie de Boy manages to navigate him, and no real troubles for him. We just run through race results from last time out. Koru took home all 25 points in Austin, and then KP took home P2, which was enough in the end to claim the championship. Keanu finished on the podium, and then Pam Polly from 15th, where he started on the sprint, comes home to take P4. Dylan was P5, and then Aston Martin with F1 Lewis finishing P6, and a double points finishing for Haas, as well as Mike, who finished P10. So, yeah, the fight for P5 in the championship has faded now, as Alfa Romeo get all 71 points scrubbed off their total, and they drop to last in the constructors' standings. So Alpha Tauri stay 4th, Haas move up to 5th, McLaren 6th, Williams 7th, Alpine 8th, and Aston Martin 9th. Because Crystal tried to sign somebody for 12 mil when he had 1.5, I believe. So, not the smartest idea from the Alfa Romeo team principal. He has been banned. Can't remember why. But apart from that, the Alfa Romeo boys are currently sat in P6 and P8 after these last couple of runs. 10 minutes remaining in this Q1 session. Ollie de Boy slots into 10th, slowest of the lot so far. Mink, I believe, is just starting his first lap. KP, though, goes to the top of the timing sheets with a 28.5, 0.42 seconds quicker than his teammate, who's currently in P2. But Ference is going to be the next man to cross the line, and the one they are all scared of, even though he is only in an Aston Martin. But let's see where he can put himself after his first run in qualifying. This time is going to be good enough for P5, so just behind Nightmare Ghost and just ahead of Goncalo Silva. Pampoli now slots into P3, a second off the pace of the Red Bulls, but that is a promising time, as Ferrari normally go nowhere in qualifying. Josh showing that, currently sat in P12, 3.1 seconds off the pace. Keanu has unfortunately invalidated this lap, so he is going to have to go for another one. Mike is just starting. Ben Finch is coming out the pit lane after we saw him having his spin. Keanu also drops in. Liam is on an out lap, and this is going to be Mink's first lap in qualifying. Let's see where he can put himself relative to the rest of the order. He crosses the line and goes up into P8, so a good time from the Haas. He just behind Goncalo Silva and a couple of tenths main laps. We will go on board with Mike to see how he can navigate the Jeddah circuit. I think he took a little bit of a hit on that inside wall, if I'm not wrong. Picked up 1 point in Austin last time out after Reece Thomas was disqualified for resetting to track. So a P4 finish turned into last for him as he just navigates that Aston Martin. Looks like a pretty decent lap from Mike. I don't know whether he did clip the wall there or whether that was just a visual glitch. But now it's going to be the drive to the line and see where he pops himself in the order. He's going to go up into P5, so just behind T. Crombie and ahead of the McLaren. And that is a very handy lap from the AlphaTauri. Ben Finch is just starting. Keanu is back out. This will be on a fresh set of softs, I believe. So already wasting a set of tyres, and he hasn't even completed a lap, so not what he would have wanted. Liam unfortunately invalidated his first lap, so I don't know whether he has enough fuel. He does, so he's going to have to go for a second flyer. We have 7 minutes remaining in Q1. Keanu is on his outlap. Ben Finch has invalidated. I don't know who else is on a lap. Reese Thomas just starting. So nobody currently on a lap. Liam is on... No, actually, to be fair, Liam is actually on a lap. So we'll follow this AlphaTauri around the streets of Jeddah and see whether he can get any close to his teammate. As he has a moment there, he's actually in the barriers. It doesn't look to be any visual damage, but I don't know whether there was any contact with the wall. He looked like he was going to lose it there, but it looked like a good save, to be fair to him. Maybe he has on the left hand side, but maybe not as much as we would have thought. Manages to let Ollie De Boyen, who's currently looking at a 2-minute lap time, so obviously this is just a banker, an outlap for him. Keanu is just starting his lap, so let's go on board with the Mercedes for his first lap in qualifying. Pretty mediocre lap from Keanu, only P9 for the Mercedes. You can see from that cut-off point, which is around Kiernan at the moment, which is 14th. The line cookie has actually crashed out in qualifying, so he'll be taking no further part. So 2.1 to around where Keanu is 5/10, sorry. So the gap between 9th and 14th, Keanu could have to go out for a second lap. We know how close this midfield fight can be between like Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, McLaren and Haas. Yeah, let's see how this one plays out. Can't see. 3 minutes 20 is on the clock, so all the people looking to set their final laps are going out at the moment, and on the edge of the drop zone is Kiernan in the Alfa Romeo, so he's going to need a good time here, and he looks to be 5/10 up on his previous time, which would be good enough to go ahead of Keanu. But let's see what these final couple of corners have in store and whether he can navigate them. He looks to do that pretty nicely and is going to pick up a long distance tow from that Aston Martin. So Kenan is going to cross the line, and it's going to be a 1:29.9. So P8 for the Alfa Romeo, gets ahead of Ferenc and Keanu, and a pretty handy time from Kiernan there. Let's see though. Mink, I believe, no. This is going to be his final lap now. 2 minutes 18 remain on the clock. Ben Finch yet to set a lap time, along with Liam, Ollie De Boy in the drop zone, and F1 Lewis as well. Ollie De Boy needs to get out quick. Otherwise he's not going to have enough time. We'll see if he does come back out, actually. I think he'll have enough time too. And Carlos Silva, his teammate, is, I'd say, safe in P12 at the moment. But at the moment, Ollie De Boy is in that drop zone. And if he doesn't get out soon, he is going to be out in Q1. Ben Finch now around the final corner for his first and only lap in Q1. And it's going to be good enough for P17. So that Williams is, unfortunately for him, out of qualifying, and that's a Q1 exit for Ben Finch as he goes straight on there, the first corner. He has actually retired from the session now, so bit of a strange one. Liam has invalidated again, so this is going to be his only flying lap in qualifying. Or is it? Is he going to pull into the lane? I don't think he has any fuel. And Liam is going to be out of qualifying here, as there's not enough time for him to get back around. He pulls into the pit lane, and that is game over for the AlphaTauri. There are still drivers, though, looking to improve. So Liam out of qualifying. Ghost 44 out of qualifying. Ben Finch and the Lion Cookie out of qualifying. F1 Lewis, though, is going quicker, 3.5 tenths up on that previous time. And we can see, I think, he still needs, though, another 2-ish tenths if he wants to beat the Lion Cookie. So around this final corner now, we see that green Aston Martin. Is it going to be good enough to make it out of Q1? He crosses the line now, and it is good enough for the Aston Martin. Pushed himself up into P14. Reece Thomas is now on the cusp, but does not need to improve, as there's nobody going to be improving behind him. Ollie De Boy didn't manage to get in his final lap. Liam not managing to get in a single lap in the whole of qualifying. Ghost 44 had that qualifying ban, and then both Williams, unfortunately for them, are out in Q1. Someone needs to tell Reece Thomas that he's safe and doesn't need to waste these tyres, but crack on if you want. Ference is going mildly quicker. Anyway, we have a train of AIs just going around the circuit very slowly. Ollie De Boy has been handed a 5-place grid penalty. Is he even driving? Ollie De Boy is now going to start from the back after an AI mistake, but that is the end to Q1, and we saw both Williamses, the Ollie De Boy and Ghost 44 along with Liam all out in Q1. We move forward now into Q2 and see who can make it through into that top 10 shootout and the fight for pole position. F1 Lewis making it through by 1.5 tenths. He'll be looking to improve on that in the second part of qualifying. But let's see how this one unfolds. It is very mix and match in the midfield, but again, Red Bull dominate the front of the field. Pam Polly 1.1 behind them in P3, and then you got T Crombie with his teammate Keanu down in P12. But let's see how this one goes into Q2 now, and we can see who will get dropped from Q2 and who will be able to make it through into Q3. Why does that keep playing? Here we go then. Q2, sorry, has started, and the drivers now enter the track to see who can make it into the last part of qualifying, the most important part of qualifying, may we add. But again, Dylan is out there, first on track as always, looking to set a lap time that will be good enough to promote himself into at least the top 10, but I'm sure he'll be wanting to make it into maybe the top 6 come the end of qualifying, but that is all in the future. He just needs to focus on the present and making this lap count on, I assume, will be a fresh set of the soft tyres. But yeah, let's see. Only Drivers' Championship points Alfa Romeo are fighting for. No Constructors' points, as they are in negative figures for winnings and budgets. Because the TP was incompetent. But let's go then with Dylan for his second lap in anger at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, opening up that DRS as we go down the main straight and picking your braking board around the 75 meters. And Dylan has already invalidated on the first corner, so no improvements for him. But we'll focus on Mike now as we enter one of the trickiest sectors on the whole track. Can be very hard if you don't find the correct wing level in the setup. Too much wings and you won't be going anywhere, and too little wings and your rear will be sliding all over the shop. But Mike is the first to set a sector time for that first sector. So obviously it is purple. We have yellow sector 2, but that is just Dylan letting through the McLaren. Well, let's carry on with Mike now, as he's going to open up the DRS for the second out of 3 times in this track. Lots of overtaking spots. One of the main ones will be this DRS zone here, so we will look to see a lot of passing into the final corner. But obviously, if you do pass here, you do face the risk of being overtaken down the main straight, as you get a second helping of the DRS right after that DRS zone, and it's a 29.5 the drivers have to chase. TF Ferentz is 5/10 down on that time. Nightmare Ghost is going to be the next person to sell a lap time, and it's going to be P2, so 0.001 second quicker than TF Ferentz. But KP Games, well, their 28.2 goes 1.2 quicker than Mike and 1.5 quicker than Mink. Keanu now slots in 1.5 off the pace. T. Crombie 5/10 off the pace. So there's a significant lack of pace for Keanu in these opening laps. Reese Thomas is just starting. Pam Polly has invalidated. Koru, this is not a proper lap. But F1 Lewis is the next man to set the lap and goes only into P8, slowest of the lot so far. Kiernan is just starting his outlap. So we wait now to see the rest of the drivers setting their first lap. We've had 9 out of 15 so far. Pam Polly invalidates again, so significant skill issue for that Ferrari on one side of the garage. Josh has popped himself up into P3, 1.1 off the leading pair. But let's see, we only have one AlphaTauri left in this qualifying session. after we lost Liam in the first part, after he didn't manage to set a lap time. We'll watch Koru now. So obviously he made a mistake in the final sector. Maybe a spin on this corner. But let's see what this lap has in store for him and where he can pop himself compared to his teammate. A 28.2 is the time to beat for Koru. This time he has managed to negotiate all of the corners correctly. And across the line now, it's going to be a 28.9. So he's 6.5 tenths off T. Crombie. Off KP. And T. Crombie is actually in P2 at the moment. So a decent lap from him. Ben Finch has DC'd. But, yeah, Koru's struggling a bit on that first lap. Maybe that will continue into Q3. But that is a matter of time to see. There is a few drivers out setting their first laps. Both Alfa Romeos, I believe, are on a flyer. Or whether Dylan is just giving a tow to his teammate. But let's see. Reese Thomas, I believe, is going to be the next man to set a lap time, and he's 1.7 off his previous time. So maybe this is just an in lap. I'm not sure. He has run out of ERS. I think this might just be an in lap. Yep, just an in lap for him. So the next man will be Pam Polly, looking to get himself off 15th and goes up into P4. So just ahead of his teammate, but still 9 tenths off what the leaders are able to do. Kiernan next across the line, and it's going to be only P12 for that Alfa Romeo. I think Dylan has run out of fuel. TF Ference actually was just starting a lap. So let's go on board with a PSGL F2 driver for his second lap in qualifying. Decent lap from that Aston Martin, puts himself up into P6, just behind the Ferraris, Red Bulls and Mercedes. But 6/10 improvement for Ference. And now we wait. 5 minutes remaining in this session. Nightmare Ghost is on a second flying lap. Currently sat in P10, the driver at risk at the moment, so he will be looking to improve on that and promote himself up into a higher place. This lap looks alright so far from the McLaren Loney. And around what will be the final corner of this track. And the time on the board for him is going to be good enough for nothing. Tried so hard for that in lap. Fuck you. Anyway, TF Ference is on an in lap. Both Mercedes are out there invalidating. Funny. But Mike is actually on a serious lap, and he's 300ths up on his previous time. Now a 10th.5 up on his previous time, but loses it on the fast right-hander. And this is going to be no improvement for him. He must have absolutely shat himself going around there. Luckily, he comes off with what looks to be minor damage. Doesn't even look to be any damage on that front wing. So he can probably pull into the lane and go back out for a final lap in qualifying. Oh. Yeah, in he comes. That was Dylan starting a lap. So this time we'll go on board with Dylan and see what kind of lap he can get in this qualifying session. Turn 1 and 2 look pretty decent so far, and this is a section where you have to keep it within the white lines. Going wide even one of these corners and you will just be sliding off the racing line for the whole rest of the section. And that looked to be very nicely done as he gets a little twitch on that rear end, almost undid. All of that hard work, and he's 200ths up on that previous time so far. Currently sat in P11, only needs a 300th improvement to get inside that top 10, but he will be looking for more as he knows others behind him will be improving. Goncalo Silva is on his outlap just behind, yet to set a lap in this Q2 session, so this time is going to be vital on whether he gets through into Q3 or it is going to be a Q2 exit for that Alpine. Dylan is still going pretty well. I didn't see that middle sector split, but I'm sure he's still improving. He needs this time on the board. His teammate is currently 200ths behind him, also on his outlap. So Dylan around the final corner and the drive to the line, opening up that DRS this time is going to be good enough for only P11. No improvement from Dylan, and unless this is a second flying lap in a row, he is going to be out of qualifying. He looks to be going for it again, and can't really see his dashboard. I think, yeah, he has got enough fuel, I think 3.5, and lost his front wing. So one push too many, and you can see how aggressive this first sector can be. Dylan now retires from the session, and that is his Q2 over. He is out in P11, but Goncalo Silva is the man behind him, and he is going to be looking to get himself where Dylan could not be. It's a 33-0 for that first sector, and a purple for him. Obviously, it's only his first sector, so it doesn't really mean much so far. It's going to be the middle sector split where we can see whether he is going to be able to challenge for those higher places. Maybe a little touch on that inside wall, and he's lost the car as well, and Goncalo Silva is into the barriers, and that is going to be another Q2 exit. That Alpine is in the wall, and that tyre is firmly off that car, so no position gain for him. He's going to be starting this race in P15. Mink has Reese Thomas is now coming to the end of his lap. This is going to be a 6-minute 45-second lap time. They're surely going to be pulling into the pit lane. Nope, he's just starting. So he didn't manage to make the line. That looks to be very close. Mink is going to pull into the pit lane, so no improvement from him. The only man who can challenge Mink for that Q3 place is Kiernan and Nightmare Ghost. Nightmare Ghost is going to come around the final corner, but Kiernan is going to do it, and he does go into P9, so this is going to prove pivotal. Is it going to be a Q2 exit? It is. So Mink is out in Q2. Kiernan and Nightmare Ghost both make it through into Q3, and that's going to be very disappointing for the Haas team. So there you go. That is your bottom 5: Mink, Dylan, Reese, F1 Lewis, and Goncalo Silva, who we saw could not finish off that final lap. So the McLaren lone driver is through to Q3 for the first time in his career. There we go then. Red Bull dominate the front of the field again. KP 5.5 tenths quicker than T. Crombie. Koru finishes up in P3. Keanu P4, and then both Ferraris finding a bit more pace, but they're going to need to find more pace in that final part of qualifying if they are going to challenge for that pole position. Goncalo Silva is going to be starting P15 after failing to get a lap in after we saw him crash during the second sector. F1 Lewis is out with Reese Thomas, Dylan, and Mink, who misses out by just over a tenth of a second. But now we move on to Q3, and we can see who is going to be in the fight for pole position around the 27 corners of this track. But here we go then. Session starting soon. Here we go then for the final part of qualifying. The most pivotal part for the Red Bulls, Mercedes and Ferraris, along with a few stragglers of an Alfa Romeo, McLaren and TF Ference. So let's see who can take home pole position for the 25 laps ahead of us. Mike is going to be the first man to cross the line and start a lap, so we can see where he can put himself in the field. He'd be looking for a top 6 or 7, maybe behind the top 3 teams, but we know before he does have that amazing qualifying pace. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pops it up into maybe P5 or higher. But we will see. We have 10 minutes remaining and everyone is out on track at the moment. I believe most people have either 2 sets of fresh softs or 1 set. We will be following Mike for his first lap in Q3. But let's see how this one goes down for him. He takes that wide line to start the lap, trying to pick up as much speed as possible, and opens that DRS down the main straight to cross the line and start his flying lap. Looks to be so fresh tyres for everyone in this Q3 session. So far, Mike has navigated turn 1 and 2 pretty nicely and into the tricky section of, I think it's turn 3 to 8 or 9. Mike is carrying a lot of speed. That's a very decent first sector from him. The time, a 32.6. So 4 tenths quicker than we saw Goncalo Silva doing on his Q2 run. This looks to be pretty handy from Mike so far. No real mistakes to spot, and seems to be hitting most of his apexes. But now he gets the DRS open for the second time on this lap. and gives him another 13 kph down those straights. But now into the final sector, it's a 101.3 for the middle sector, and unfortunately he has invalidated. I didn't quite see where that was, but he has invalidated, so this time is not going to count for him. Nightmare Ghost has not invalidated, and we can see where he can put himself. For now it's going to be P1 because he's going to be the first man to set a valid lap time, but he has got both of those Red Bulls chasing behind him. For Nightmare Ghost though, it's going to be a 29.6 for the first lap. Koru is going to set a 28.4 and KP is going to set a 27.9. So first blood to KP on the first couple of laps for Red Bull, sorry. Keanu goes 6/10 off KP, which is better pace than he was showing already. Pampoli 7/10 off. Ted is going to be next across the line, but he has invalidated his lap time, so that means that Ferenc is going to be the next man to put a lap on the board, and he only has one more corner to navigate around this circuit, and seems to take it pretty nicely. Now gets his foot to the floor, and across the line it's going to be a 29.5, which is good enough for P5 at the moment. Mike, I think, is going for a second flyer, or maybe he might be putting into the pit lane. 0.4 fuel left, so either he takes this lap or has a really slow in lap. I think he is going to complete this lap. No, he is going to pull into the pit lane, so he's going to have to use another set of tyres. Oh, that was a bit close with the McLaren. Kidden had to have some good reaction times there. Nightmare Ghost had a bit on the on the racing line there, but Kidden next across the line. I think P6 or 5 for him. It's going to be P7, so 2/10 off the McLaren. Josh is going to be the next. He goes very wide around that final corner, and this lap is just going to be an in lap, so nothing for him. Ted has invalidated his second lap, so he is going to be putting into the pit lane as well, and I believe that is all we're going to see for the first couple of laps. Pampoli is going for a lap, maybe? I think he's going for a lap at the moment. Going pretty nicely so far. So, yeah, this does look to be a genuine lap from Pampoli. A 32.2 for the first sector. That's 2/10 quicker than he managed on his previous lap. So he needs to gain another 5/10 around what is mostly straights for the next two sectors. Next corner, though, is a proper corner and takes it pretty nicely using all of the track there. So he activates the DRS again, and we can see what kind of time he's put in for that middle sector. It's going to be a 0.9. I didn't quite see how much up on his delta he was, but I think he's found a couple of tenths in those first two sectors, so only the final corner to navigate. We can see where this puts him relative to the others. Nowhere. Fuck's sake, why do they always box? He's like 4/10 up and he boxes. I'd laugh so hard if he fails that final lap now. But now it's going to be a couple of minutes silent, because everyone is putting on a fresh set of softs ready to come out for their final laps. We do have a Ferrari out on track for his final lap in qualifying. And also T. Crombie, who invalidated that first lap. But 2 minutes 40 seconds remaining in Q3. So let's see what Pampoli's done. A 101, 1 minute 1 second middle sector, which is really competitive, but it's only his outlap. So this is his final lap, in qualifying. So we will go on board with the Ferrari. 2 minutes remaining in this session now, and this is where it gets real for the top three teams. A bit deep into turn one there, having to take more of the apex on that second turn. And now it is a tricky section of the left-hander, using all of that curb on the right and then pushing yourself back over to the left, trying not to swing it too much as the rear gets quite loose, and now taking it quite nicely through these next couple of corners, and no twitches so far. That first sector is going to be a 32.2, 0.28 up on his previous delta, and purple for Pampoli so far. So in the Ferrari, it's going quite nicely so far. He needs another 5/10 or so to get anywhere near that pole position, and through those that chicane there, it looked pretty good for the Ferrari. He opens up the DRS now, and around these final couple of corners on the track, he is pushing most of the limits, and it looks to be sticking with him so far. No twitches through that section. Koru needs to get out of the way of the oncoming Ferrari. Oh my god, there was almost contact there between the two of them. 1 minute remaining in this session. Pampoli is going to come around the final corner. Has he found enough pace to put it on pole position? We'll have to wait and see as he gets his foot flat to the floor and across the line. It's going to be good enough for only P2. He's a 10th off what KP could manage on his first run. T. Crombie now is going to be the next man to set a lap time. Can he improve or even beat Pampoli? And across the line, it's going to be good enough for P2 for T. Crombie, a 100th quicker, than what he could manage. KP Games does a 27.7, so 4/10 quicker than what T. Crombie and Pampoli could do. Koru has retired from the session, so he's had a moment or invalidated. Kiernan has just started his lap. Mike has unfortunately invalidated Kiernan, and a lot of people have invalidated or crashed. I don't know who. But all eyes now fall on Keanu. Can he translate this into a pole position after having the title snatched away from him in Austin? There's nothing really to compete for apart from glory and status. Can Keanu put this Mercedes on pole position? He needs to find 9/10 in these last couple of corners. Can he do this? He goes a bit deep into the final corner. Is this going to be enough for pole position? I don't think it is. He's going to be pulling into the pit lane, and it's only going to be good enough for P5 in the Mercedes. TF Ferentz goes up into P6, and that, ladies and gentlemen, looks to be the end of qualifying. Or maybe it isn't. T. Crombie has, I think, gone for a second lap. Or maybe this is just his in-lap. No, this is only an in-lap. And KP has run out of fuel. So it is another pole position for the Red Bull of KP. T. Crombie, though, lining up P2, and then the second row is shared by Pam, Polly and Koru. Koru, the quali merchant, is only in P4, so he must have invalidated in that first sector. Keanu and TF Ference share the third row. Josh and Kiernan are on the fourth, and Nightmare Ghost and Mike are on the fifth row of the grid. But that is the end of qualifying then, and what we thought might be a Red Bull pole was a Red Bull pole, but it is followed up by a Mercedes on that front row alongside him, so it could be very interesting going into that first corner. But there we go then. KP Games takes home another pole position to add to the tally so far this season. T. Crombie P2, Pam, Polly and Koru sharing that second row, I think for the first time this season. Keanu and Tia Ference, good mates, are sharing that third row. Josh and Kiernan in the Ferrari and Alfa Romeo share the fourth row. Nightmare Ghost and Mike. Mike didn't set a lap time in that final part of qualifying, so he must have made a mistake somewhere. But next up is 25 laps around the floodlit streets of Jeddah. Here we go then, for this race start. It's going to be straight to lights out. Ahead of the drivers, 5 lights are on, and it's lights out, and away we go. KP gets off the line very gingerly. I think that was Ghost has put himself up into P17, and that's Nightmare Ghost going wide at the third corner. But KP leads us from T. Crombie, Pam, Polly, Koru, Keanu, Tia Ference, Josh, Dylan, Kiernan and Reese Thomas are your top 10. Dylan has made up places on this race start. We can see now 4 places gained for him. Mink has lost 8, Nightmare Ghost lost 9, Mike has dropped 3 on this race start. So there must have been some sort of kerfuffle going into that first corner, but KP Games has avoided it all. We have a yellow in Sector 2. That looks to be F1 Lewis has had some sort of incident and has been spun around, but side by side between Dylan and Reese Thomas. Dylan having to go off the track to keep the move. There we can see the predicted stop strategy, medium to hard for the drivers today, stopping around lap 11 to 14. Is Reese Thomas going to go down the inside? No, he is not. He's going to stay behind for now, but up ahead you can see Koru and Pam Polly switching places. I don't think Pam Polly's going to give this one up easily, but I don't think as he has a choice. Koru just has the overspeed in the corners, and Koru has promoted himself up into P3. Ben Finch has now retired from the session. Ollie De Boy, I believe, is in for a new wing along with F1 Lewis, so there must have been some sort of contact made. T. Crombie though and KP are keeping quite nicely together here, so might we see these two having a bit of fighting as we move up. I think Ted would love that. currently in P2, maybe looking to take home the victory here. But Dylan has dropped a place to his teammate now, so we'll be looking to gain that one back, and he's very close, going around the loop of turn number 10, I believe. I'm not familiar with the turns on this track, but Dylan is looking very close to the back of his teammate, and there might be a position swap soon. F1 Lewis, I believe, has spun it in the first sector, and we already have a DNF of Ben Finch. Is Dylan going to get past his teammate here? It looks like he has less wings on than his teammate. Apparently my voice is lagging. Can't do a lot. I think we have a VSC. Yeah, looks to be a VSC out on track. So that is going to neutralise the race. For what reason? I'm not too sure. Liam is now in the pit lane. Are there going to be some early stoppers, or is this just a new front wing? That looks to be a new front wing for Liam. We can see if these two can benefit off the VSC ending. T. Crombie will be focusing on that delta. And when the lights go green, he will bolt it to try chase after KP. Nightmare Ghost has picked up a drive-through penalty, and T. Crombie has an absolutely awful VSC restart. Koru is within 7/10, and he's dropped over a second to that Red Bull in front of him. Ollie DeBoy now gets a penalty for corner cutting, and there looks to be some squabbling between the Alfa Romeos. Dylan looks to have so much more pace than Kinnan at the moment, and will be looking to make a move maybe into the next lap, as we get a nice little helicopter view of the drivers. Maybe this will be the time for Dylan to make his move around the outside of his teammate. His teammate's going to leave him the space, and I think that will be the move done for the Alfa Romeo, and he puts himself now up into P8. Kiernan doesn't fight that one down the inside, and Dylan is going to be challenging TF Ference here. TF Ference, it looks to be on the hard tyres, along with Liam and F1 Lewis, as Dylan is now into the pit lane. So we have another, is it a safety car or a VSC? He is into the, oh, he's serving a drive-through, sorry. I didn't realise he picked one up. Something out on track. I think it's another VSC. Ted just clipped the inside wall. Ollie DeBoy has now retired from the session at the final corner, sorry. As we now go green, and T. Crombie has lost even more time under this VSC. And Koru is only 2-3 tenths behind him now. Koru's lost a bit, actually. But KP has picked up a penalty. And it's a drive-through. So a drive-through for the race leader, which means he is going to lose that first place. And T. Crombie is going to be put into the lead of this race. Koru will be moved up into P2. Pampoli P3. And Keanu is put back into the fight for a podium place. But behind, it looks to be a train forming with Josh as he now gets overtaken by TF Ference. Josh isn't going to give this one up easily, or maybe he is, as KP Games now pulls into the pit lane, and Koru has, unfortunately for T. Crombie, got past into turn 1. So it's not going to be a first place at the moment. But maybe T. Crombie can keep that pace up and stick with the Red Bull. Through this first sector, it looks like T. Crombie probably has a lot more wings on than Koru, as Koru is really struggling. Just look at the gap, 1.5 tenths between the two of them, and into the next corner, Ted has to stick behind. It's not really an overtaking spot. Lucas winning again, nobody cares. Anyway, T. Crombie is going to be inside DRS range for this lap. So he's going to have the benefit of the flap opening behind him. And Koru is going to be under threat from that going into the next couple of corners. Is there going to be a move made here by the Mercedes? Gaining. It doesn't seem to be close enough on this time round. But maybe from the next lap, T. Crombie gets a much better exit. Just look at that gap, 2.5 tenths. It's going to be a bit squirrely behind the Red Bull there. And he's not going to be able to make a move. I think there might have been a late direction change from Koru there, or maybe just a visual glitch. Maybe the Mercedes is just too slow in a straight line, but Koru looks to have a little train forming behind him now. T. Crombie and Pam Polly both inside of that train. You can just see how slow he is. It's within a tenth for T. Crombie. If T. Crombie gets past, he is going to be absolutely blitzing away in the first sector. Or maybe this is just tactics from the Red Bull trying to bring Pam Polly into play. You can just see how slow he is on the exit. I wouldn't be surprised if Koru's maybe picked up a bit of damage, which means he's going this slowly. But now the DRS is open, you can just see how close these drivers are. It's only 2.5 tenths separating 3 drivers on a racetrack. T. Crombie is now going to go for that move. They're side by side going into the next left-hander. Is he going to keep that place? He is. He does get the place and moves himself now up into P1. Koru under massive pressure now from the Ferrari of Pam Polly. Is Pam Polly going to make a move into that final corner? I don't think so. Koru may be running like 0-0 wings or something, because he is absolutely a bullet in a straight line. But into those corners, he loses so much time. 4.5 tenths as we start the next lap. T. Crombie is not using any battery, and Koru is just going to blitz past him again. Pam Polly is not close enough to make any inroads on the two of them. Ted run these streets, not on the straights at the moment. He's got Koru pinned in the corner, but down the straights, Koru is an absolute bullet in a straight line. As we've seen, the Red Bulls are majorly overpowered in the straights, so hopefully a patch update. You can just see how closely Ted is running onto the back of Koru, and same with Pam Polly. Pam Polly just opens up at ERS. I'm sure he would just blast past this Mercedes. Mercedes is known for being slow in a straight line, as Ted has a little moment on the end of that corner, and I think it's going to cost him the position as Pam Polly drives it all the way around the outside and gets himself up into P2, T. Crombie in P3, and Koru is now going to be under more pressure from Pam Polly. Pam Polly has more of a fighting chance with the car performance, but he is known for mistakes, so we might see another one. Koru gets a bit of a better exit off this corner, not much better though, and the gap around 3.5 tenths, and it's not even dropping. Koru not using the ERS. He has 68. Pam Polly has 90 and is using it down the straight, so F1 Lewis is getting lapped, which has saved Koru this time around, as he picks up the DRS of that driver. But as we look behind, there is a massive squabble between Josh, Tia Ference, Mike, KP and Kiernan. Ghost is in P10 at the moment, with Mink right up behind him. But we will go back to that top 3 fight, and the fight of the 3 constructors at the moment. Koru leading Pam Polly, leading T. Crombie, but has Pam Polly got another amazing exit off that long left-hander? Not as good as last time, and he's not going to be able to make a move like he did on Ted. But this time around, he looks a lot closer onto the back of that Red Bull, and as he gets the DRS open now, he's going to be absolutely closing up to the back of him. There it goes. This time around, he's not quick enough, so I don't think Pam Polly has the pace in a straight line to get past Koru. So maybe he needs to work with Ted, but he looks a lot closer this time. The gap is just over a tenth, and into the final corner, Pampoli may be looking for that switchback on Koru. You can just see Ted trying to pick up on any mistakes that these two make ahead of him. Pampoli is very, very close again. And is there going to be a move into that first corner? No, not this time around. We enter lap 9 now already. The laps have been passing by very quickly. And these two continue to squabble with each other. Koru leading Pampoli, and then T. Crombie. Keanu has actually fallen off a little bit, so unfortunate for him. I believe Dylan has made a mistake, which meant he is, or either he's got past both Hasses after his drive-through penalty. But look at this train, this is really hurting KP. There's been a mistake, and that is Dylan around, and I think he has enough of a gap to hold P13. Not where he would want to be though, as we get a nice little helicopter shot of Koru, Pampoli and T. Crombie all fighting it out for the podium places and the race win here in Jeddah. Can Koru hold this victory, or will Pampoli or T. Crombie snatch it away from him? Koru started P4 in this race, got up 3 places so far. Pampoli started alongside him, up 2 places, and Ted has lost 1. But as we enter now lap 10, the gap's 6.5 tenths, so maybe he is pulling away slightly from Pampoli, but you can just see on the exit of corners how much of a boost he gets. But into this first sector, we know how poor his Red Bull is performing, and you can just watch the gap between him and Pampoli just drop so much. There's already 2 tenths gain for the Ferrari. To be fair, he didn't lose that much time, but Koru has a bit of a snap on the exit, and the gap is already back down to 3 tenths. Nothing this time around though. You can just see the exit that Pampoli gets is so much better than Koru's. T. Crombie is falling off slightly, but he does have so much more battery. To be fair, Pampoli isn't really pushing Koru into a place where he's having to make mistakes or use his battery at the moment. They're all kind of in a train behind him. So we'll look at KP, who's now got past Clarence and Mike and is looking for that P5 spot ahead of Josh. So down this next straight, I'm sure we will see a move from the Red Bull as he opens up that DRS flap and just hangs it around the outside. So that is going to be P5, I believe, for KP. So from P1, after his drive-through penalty, he's made up to P5. So far, Pampoli is very close this time around. He's been close most times around, to be fair, but he's a bit closer this time, and he's just going to get held up so much. This is going to be hurting his and T. Crombie's tyres. But a little bit of mistake there from Pampoli, using a bit too much of that inside curb, and it's not really going to help him. Koru is just controlling the pace at the moment. He doesn't need to blast away. He can just sit with the overspeed on the straight and hold the place, but surely they got to start fighting soon. The laps we're almost at half distance, and all they've done so far is just sit in the train for the last 7 or 8 laps. So something's got to change soon, and Pampoli looks so much closer this lap. He's not going to use any ERS though. Koru does, and Koru just extends that gap. So I don't know what Pampoli's tactics are to try past Koru. But again, Koru actually pits this lap. T. Crombie does as well. And T Crombie has gained so much just at the pit limiter. So, good stop, and he might be ahead, but he is not. So, Koru now jumps T Crombie in the pit stop. Pam Polly is going to be looking for that one lap overcut. Keanu now into P2, TF Ference P3, Kiernan P4, and Koru and T Crombie have come out in P5 and 6. KP has also boxed, so he is going to drop quite a few places. Goncalo Silva, sorry, we've missed, has DNF, so that's a double DNF for Alpine, so not good for them on this race. But Pam Polly is using all of that ERS, so going for a fast outlap. Koru is so T Crombie is so close onto the back of Koru, but there just doesn't look like enough straight to overtake at the moment. But that might just be to the fact that Koru has so much overspeed compared to the Mercedes. Pam Polly is going to be coming in though at the end of this lap, and we can see whether he has got the overcut on these two. Manages to brake for the pit limiter and now pulls into his stop, and it's a pretty nice stop from the Ferrari crew. And he looks to have quite a big gap. They're going to come out level pegging into this first corner, but obviously they have their tyres heated up. So Pam Polly coming around the pit lane now, and he does have the lead ahead of the hards for warm-up on this game. So it's going to be like Koru has been looking, Pam Polly has been looking like Koru in this first sector, like he was looking at Koru in the last couple of laps, if you know what I mean, because I explained that terribly. But obviously Pam Polly still has to get these tyres warmed up, and Koru is going to go for that move actually around the outside. Is that going to invite T Crombie up the inside now? It's going to be side by side between the Merc and the Red Bull. Pam Polly just ahead of them. There's only 2/10 separating these guys. Koru manages to hold that P3. T Crombie plays the smart game. Plays the long game, sorry, but actually he's got the inside of the next corner. They're going to be side by side now, and just look at the overspeed that Koru has. It's not going to be enough though, and they're going to go side by side into the next corner, and it looks to be Koru who wins this one this time. But again, T Crombie gets another amazing exit off the corner, and he's going to be looking for that move into the final corner. We're on lap 13 of 25 at the moment, and it's going to be Pam Polly leading the way. His tyres surely up to temperature coming down this pit straight. And is Koru now going to look impatient and try to go for a move? He is. He's going to go for a move. Pam Polly has no ERS, and Koru just absolutely blitzes him. They're going to go side by side though into the next corner, as we watch from Ted's POV of this fight happening ahead of them. They're going to go side by side now. Can T Crombie pick up any places? A little bit of contact made between the Ferrari. T Crombie's now going to go around the outside of the Ferrari, translates to the inside of the next corner, and he's got himself now up into P3 and maybe looking for that P1 spot down the next straight. Can T Crombie now spoil these two's party? Not at the moment. But just remember, we have two more DRS zones down the straight, and he has so much better exits than Koru is managing to do. So let's see for T Crombie, as he's now going to get that rear wing open again now. And the flap is open, the gap around 3/10. Pam Polly is 4/10 behind, which he's going to be annoyed about because he has no ERS, and he actually went wide there, so he's going to drop even more time. But T Crombie is a lot closer to Koru on this lap. I don't think there's going to be any moves though into that final corner. I think he's going to save it for the main straight. But so far this battle has been pretty good between the three of these. TF Ference now pulls into the pit lane. So he's going to drop back quite far. But remember, he started on those hard tyres. So he's now put on the mediums. He's going to be a lot faster than the cars that he comes out around. He's going to be, I think, the AlphaTauri of Mike, which he's going to be fighting on the exit. And those two, it looks like TF Ference has got the jump on Mike, and he has got those medium tyres. So he will most likely keep the place once those tyres get up to temperature. But T. Crombie is so close onto the back of Koru. Koru looks to find himself a setup that's good down the straights, but has so little effect in the corners. T. Crombie seems to have found the perfect setup, but both of them have got penalties, and that might be what defines this race. Pam Polly has not picked up a 3-second penalty, so as long as this stays the same, Pam Polly will take his first ever victory in DLRL, and what will be his penultimate race for Ferrari Brazil, and then he moves over to Alpine for season 3, back to where he started his career. But I think Koru might be looking to escape. Yes. So T. Crombie is going to look to stay with him. Pam Polly doesn't have the ERS to even get close to these two. If you compare the ERS, 25% for Koru, 54 for T. Crombie. So much more ERS to play with for the Mercedes. And again, into his first couple of corners, T. Crombie is going to close up to the Red Bull. You can just see how wide the Red Bull is drifting. He doesn't have the front end to keep it on the desired racing line. And again, T. Crombie closes up so close out of that first sector, and it actually goes purple. So the tyres are really working for him. You can just see how close he gets. KP has actually gone for the soft tyre. So is he actually on softs? He's on softs. There's no way on earth they're going to last till the end of the race. If he makes them last in the race, that is insane, but I'm pretty sure he'll get a puncture before the end. Corey, though, actually goes wide on the exit of that right-hander. He's going to have massive pressure into this final corner. There's a bit of contact made, almost a brake check from Koru there. He's going to let Ted through, and he's going to pick up the DRS down this main straight, but he has Pam Polly very close to the back of him, not using any ERS. Ted is going to use the ERS, and he's going to keep that place into turn 1. So now we can see the true pace of this Mercedes compared to the pace of Corey when he's following a car. And this first sector will be very interesting in deciding whether Ted can actually pull away when he is ahead of Koru. The gap's still rising, 7/10 at the moment. Koru looks to take this first sector a bit better than last time, but 8.5 tenths. The gap 9/10. It's almost a second coming out of that corner, and Koru has almost been dropped outside of DRS range. And if T. Crombie can manage to hold this gap and do that for a second time around, Koru could be in a lot of trouble with this Ferrari. But at the moment, this Mercedes looks to have a lot more race pace than the Red Bull. Josh picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He's currently sat in P7, so that time penalty won't affect him. Keanu also picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently sat in P4, 9 seconds ahead of TF Ference. Koru has now got impatient. He's going to be using that ERS. Ted is not, and he is going to go for the move. No, there is a safety car. A safety car is out, and this may be very interesting on who decides to box. Ted is going to come in. Koru obviously has to do the opposite. Pam Polly does the opposite. Keanu is going to stay in, or he's going to come in as well. TF Ference surely has to stay out on these mediums, otherwise the strategy completely goes in the bin. Mike boxes, Josh boxes. It just depends on where these two come out in the field. The annoying thing for Ted is he is going to be behind the Aston Martin, and he's going to be absolutely screaming, because if he came out on softs while these lot were on hards, he would have so much more pace. But as long as he can navigate that Aston Martin quickly, that is going to be it. Josh has DNF'd. I don't know how. I'm sure he just came into the pit lane. Yeah, he just come into the pit lane and crashed. But these front two, Koru and Pampoli, could be in a lot of trouble. Both Mercedes are on fresh, soft tyres, as well as Mike, I believe. I don't think Mike will come into the question. TF Ferrance is the anomaly in this one. He just needs to be passed very quickly by Ted, and they can get this fight back underway. But it'd be interesting to see if Koru and Pampoli box, because surely Ted wins if they don't, because it's just the tyres, isn't it? They would have so much less grip than both Mercedes. But yeah. Oh, where's the orange? We just have to wait for the field to bunch back up. The Lion Cookie will be the last on. KP is going on to hard tyres. What the fuck are you going on hards? Maybe not the correct strategy from KP. Surely fresh softs, or even barely worn softs, would be better than going on hards for 6 laps. It's basically a sprint to the end now. For the front 5, maybe we'll call it 6, as Liam has found himself up in P7. I think he's gained over 11 positions. So there you can see positions gained and lost. KP is having a bad day in the office. Let's say he is back of the pack on 2-lap-old hard tyres, so maybe not the strat for this one from KP. Maybe that looks more like a Ferrari strategy than a Red Bull strat. But if this safety car could end, that would be great, so we could have some racing laps. Obviously, we can't forget that Pampoli is the only one without a penalty, as well as TF Ferrance. So, if T. Crombie can get past but can't gain that 3 seconds, then I think this will be the last lap under safety car conditions. So time to warm up the tyres for all the drivers at the front. Get as much temperature as you can, because this safety car restart may be pivotal in the outcome of this race. TF Ference currently sits P3, so his strat has gone quite nicely so far. Koru still leads the way. Ted looking a bit like Hamilton in Silverstone at the moment. And there we get the call that the safety car is in at the end of this lap, and we wait to see where Koru bolts at the moment. We are under. Safety car will be in the pit lane in a minute, and then you can see the 16 cars go racing for the final 5 laps of the Jeddah Corniche circuit in the penultimate race of the calendar. The championship is decided, but there's a lot to play for, and a race win for a driver tonight, and Koru has gone. Pam Polly follows very closely. TF Ference has actually got a really good restart. Liam has picked up a 5-second penalty, and look at the restart that Koru's got, 8/10 the gap. TF Ference is going to be making a move. Has T Crombie got enough overspeed to make a move? No. TF Ference is going to make a move around the outside and is going to put himself up into P2, or maybe he can't. Pam Polly is now under pressure from Ted, as Ted goes around the outside and gets himself up into P3. TF Ference now needs to be cleared by Ted, and then we can see the real showdown between Koru and T Crombie for the victory in this Jeddah Grand Prix. T Crombie needs to clear him quickly though. The laps are counting down, and his tyre wear will be going through the roof on these last couple of laps. T Crombie does not have a lot of time to get these moves done, and the gap is already opening up at the front of the field. 4/10 separate TF Ference and T Crombie at the moment. So there's going to need to be some reduction in that if T Crombie wants to get that place back. Pam Polly and Keanu look to be squabbling behind. Mike has dropped and left the session, so something has happened between those two. These two are going side by side into the next corner. Has KP got the overspeed? It looks to be he has, and Ghost has actually dropped 2 positions from that. Mike lost his wing, and I think he rage quit, so unlucky for him. T Crombie now needs to get a move on down this straight. Ference is having the DRS open, and T Crombie has to make a move somewhere, otherwise these tyres are just going to go to waste. This could actually be a first victory for TF Ference in the Aston Martin at the moment. I don't think anyone realises that he has not picked up a single penalty, and the gap is only 7/10 at the moment. Obviously you want to win on track, but winning on penalties in an Aston Martin doesn't sound bad at all to me. We have 3 and a bit laps remaining in this race, and you can just see the overspeed. Ted has actually got past the Aston Martin now and is up into P2. The gap to Koru, 1 second. The gap to TF Ference, 2/10. He needs to get some time behind him. He's already gained 6/10 off just 1 corner exit. He is 7.5 behind Koru at the moment. 3 laps remaining after we finish this one. T Crombie is 6.5 back from Koru. Koru about 50% ERS. T Crombie only 22, and this one could go down to the wire, as T Crombie, we know he loves that first sector, and the Red Bull of Koru absolutely hates it. So ERS being used for both of them down this main straight. DRS now activated. T Crombie sets the fastest lap of the race at 31.7. He has the pace in this Mercedes, but does he have the pace to get past Koru? Pam Polly has now got up past TF Ference, so the win not doing it for him, but T Crombie hits the wall. He's trying to keep it too close Hopefully no damage on that Mercedes, or this could be race ending for him. It doesn't look to be for me. He now runs wide and now picks up a 3-second penalty. It's gone to his head. He needs to just chill out. He now picks up 6 seconds worth of penalties, and that's not even going to be good enough to stay on the podium. So it looks like the win has slipped away from him, but he still wants to win it on track, and he still had the soft tyres compared to these hard tyres. 3/10 going for him, and he now activates that DRS down the second DRS straight. 10% battery, 8% battery, 6%. He's under 10% now, and he's going to get the DRS and ERS helpings once again on this main straight into that final corner. Lap 23 of 25. Is there going to be a move done on lap 24, or is it going to be on the final lap between these two? 5/10 separate them at the moment. Pampoli is 1.6 behind. Can he actually sneak the victory from both of them? It looks at the moment like he is. He's going to get the DRS again. Koru using that ERS. Ted also a 31.4, another fastest lap for the Mercedes. And you just see how close he is to the Red Bull. 10% battery at the moment. Koru gains a bit of time through those first couple of corners, but this is where the Mercedes has been mighty all of this race so far. Lap 24 of 25 now. Can T. Crombie get this move done on this final lap? Nightmare Ghost now retires from the session, and that is going to mean we have 14 runners still going. A bit of a gap has formed for Koru. 5/10 at the moment. Pampoli 1.9 back, so Koru knows he still needs another 4.5 tenths-ish if he wants to take home the victory from Pampoli as well. Don't forget, Pampoli is actually still in the fight as Ted now hits the wall, and surely that's given him damage. Or maybe he's got away with it again. Ted is pushing so hard, as now we are going to enter after these final couple of corners. There you go. There's the penultimate corner, and you still have about half a mile to go until you reach the finish line. The gap at the moment is, let me just put it to leader, 2.4. So Koru needs to gain 4/10 on this final lap if he wants to take home the victory from Pampoli, as we enter now the final lap of this Jeddah Grand Prix. 24 so far enthralling laps of fighting between the front three. Is this going to be a victory for Koru? The gap is currently 3 seconds. He has the gap to take home the victory. Pampoli yet to pick up a penalty. Ted is pushing